back to Warlord Radio. Thank you for tuning in. I am Carrick Coleman. This is Craig Meinhardt, as always.
That's
and
Craig.
We got
I'm
Joe Schillage.
Joe Schillage, the man, the myth, the legend.
That's right.
You've seen him on here a couple of times now. And then
couple
hopefully, if
weeks.
you're watching, and if you haven't, then you need to go back and watch those episodes because they're very entertaining as well.
Yes.
Truly.
Joe is our very accomplished drummer friend.
Yes, works for Lament Configuration, which is also our producer Krishna's band.
Don't they work for him?
No. They're my guitar players.
That's right.
It's our band.
Okay,
Yes.
gotcha.
But
That's how that works.
He owns them.
I didn't say that. They're my guitar players.
It's more indentured servitude.
It's not even that.
They're like serfs only.
Yeah.
It's just whoever's talking, you say they're my, and they're talking about me, they say that's my drummer. It's the same thing.
Joe is like the feudal lord of Denton.
That's very
So-
true. Yes.
Anyway.
Yeah, fuck it, why not?
So we're gonna change it up a little bit, and we're gonna talk about our top 5 non-metal bands, at all.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, Craig and I were talking about this outside. This was incredibly difficult.
Yeah.
For
I'm still
a
kind of up in the
multitude
air.
of reasons. Yeah.
I hope I have my list ready by the time it comes around to me.
Yeah. Right.
Well, it's going to lead with you, sir. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
You're the
Yeah.
guest, man.
Yeah.
Here.
Oh, okay. Could I go last this
Nope.
time?
No.
Well, you're in the center. You're literally in the hot seat.
All right, well.
So you're the resident music expert. So
Okay.
hit us with your top 5 non-metal
Just tell us why you
bands.
like ABBA so much, Joe.
Yeah.
They're not in my top 5. But I do like ABBA because it was something I heard when I was younger, and I started doing the whole Joe Provolone, death metal over non-metal stuff, and that was one of the
Yes.
first tunes, SOS,
There you go.
by ABBA. So that's actually one I've covered. I also covered Fernando, but it sounded so funny, dude. It sounded so funny, I couldn't make it sound nice. It just sounded bad.
So, are you ranking these, or are you just throwing bands
I
out?
just wanted to talk about doing death metal some ABBA.
Right.
No, for non-metal bands, number 1 for me will be the guy that I listened to before I even really got into metal.
Mm-hmm.
The guy I grew up loving from a young age, Mr. James Brown.
Okay.
That's a solid choice.
I just love the grooves. I was a funk drummer before I was any other kind of drummer, and that was the guy I was listening to get idea for grooves and ways of changing rhythm. His ideas about polyrhythms, about repeating phrases, but long phrases. When we were doing the acoustic double record, the long phrases I was talking about, that's a James Brown concept.
Right on. Do you have a favorite go-to record?
I honestly, because I didn't grow up in the time of James Brown, it's all compilations, best
that's
ofs.
fair.
But I really always liked the song "There Was a Time." There's all the ones that we all know. I Got You, Papa's Got a Brand New Bag. But "There Was a Time," I always thought that was a really cool tune. There's also another tune called "It's Too Funky in Here," and it's
I love that fucking song.
It's a great fucking song.
I love that.
And it's
The
about,
bass line is so nasty.
and it's literally about when you go to some place. There's a dance. This doesn't happen anymore. But when you go to a dance, or like some guy to get together, and people are dancing and stuff, and it just fucking stinks in there.
Yeah.
And like one of the lyrics is, "Open up the door and let out some." It's like it's the literal funk of the funk.
Of the funk.
The funk of the funk.
One thing you got to give it up for funk is that the rhythm section of funk bands or projects or whatever is always outstanding. Like,
And
those
as
guys are
a
always...
drummer and a bass player, there are going to be a couple of different funk bands on these lists. I can already tell. So, okay, so that's your number 5.
I'm going to get some gaff from this, but I just have to be honest. One of the guys I love playing his songs still grew up, and actually one of the first, musicians, period, I listened to, and that's Mr. Michael Jackson.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who, as it was, is a James Brown kind of acolyte, right? Kind of took that act, kind of stepped it up, in the same way that Necrophagist did it with Death, same kind of thing.
Nice,
Michael
I like
Jackson.
how you tied in
Michael
Michael
it's a tie-in
Jackson
to that
Necrophagist.
episode that we did weeks ago.
Well,
but I still remember.
I just like it because not many people, only on Warlord Radio, will you get the connection of Michael Jackson to Necrophagist.
Yes,
So-
well, it just happened. You heard it here first.
That's
The
right.
thing about Michael Jackson is, he was so fucking influential. Kind of like the way that, whether you're a Metallica fan or not, you cannot deny the impact that Metallica has had on modern music.
Right.
Michael Jackson is very much the same way.
Yeah.
Whether you like Michael Jackson or not, the impact and influence that he had on the entirety of music is undeniable.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's a solid ass pick, my friend.
There you go.
Thank you. Number 3 is a band I've been listening to for many years. I do death metal's covers of them. They have a killer rhythm section. one of the most prolific singers in the rock and roll world, and that is Incubus.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I thought you were going to go a different band, but I'm going to hold off and tell you because you might include them. But yeah, okay, Incubus, right?
Incubus, yes.
Because you played an Incubus song for me the other day. Because you and I have always talked about the fact that I never really got into Incubus. Like, they were one of those bands where I was like, I absolutely respect and acknowledge the quality, just like not my thing.
Yeah.
And then he went and did that "Pardon Me" song, and I watched him do a drum cover of that, and I was just
That
like,
song is hard
it's
as balls.
fucking insane.
Yeah, it's hard as balls.
Like, it's just like the control work and the stick work on that song is fucking nuts, man.
It's tough.
Yeah.
But yes, anyway, sorry, I didn't mean to
No,
interrupt you
that's
there, but
that's one of their best albums. That's an album called Make Yourself.
Okay.
Just huge album back in the 90s.
Yeah.
Another really good one that you would probably like is Science. And actually, if you go back and you want to hear Incubus with like elements of Primus, Fungus Among Us.
See, I have heard
Was
parts
that
of Fungus
earlier?
Among Us. Yeah.
That's their first.
That's the
Okay.
very
Yeah.
first.
Yeah.
Because I was a huge Primus fan.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was the one I heard.
The songs Speak
Yeah.
Free on that album, it in parts, it literally sounds like a Primus song.
Nice.
There's also a song called Psychopsilocybin, which is about being fucked up and all the
Yeah.
shit that happens to you. And there are literally 5 guitar solos in that song. Yes. And this is a band too that like their later material, not as big of a fan,
Right.
but the earlier material and even in the mid-era material, still very, very solid. Still very good songwriting. So
Right.
that's my number 3.
Number 3 would be
non-metal
Incubus.
band.
Okay.
Number 4. Man, this is tough. All right. Number 4, I've probably got to give to New Opeth. Actually,
Okay. Ooh.
after all the
interesting.
shit that I talked several weeks ago about New Opeth, The Pale Communion, one of my favorite albums. I just love that album. It's not something I listen to when I want to listen to a metal album, but when I want to listen to something that's a little bit funky, a little bit rock. You know, it's just kind of all over the place. Very much progressive rock album.
Right.
And I just think that, you know, it's just one of my favorite like modern era Opeth albums. And
It never would have occurred to me to put Opeth on both, like, you know, a metal and a non-metal.
But it
totally
works.
applies.
It totally,
It
because
absolutely
they
does.
very much did phase out the death and metal part of
Yes.
their catalog, and now they
well, in terms of writing,
songwriting
yeah.
is you know, now they're much more of like in the vein of like a 70s progressive rock band.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
They brought back a few metal elements, just really on the drums,
Right.
for the new album, but it was only in a couple of parts.
I was gonna say I don't even recall them like doing anything like super heavy, like a blast beat or even
No
like a
blasts,
thrash beat
no.
with like double bass or anything like that.
There's just a couple of sections where they do it.
But I mean that's fine. It's just
it's not- it's
just
really not metal anymore.
just an observance.
No.
You know?
But, you know, I love the new stuff. I still think it's great music. It's just not metal.
Exactly. So that's your number 4.
Number
What's
4.
your number 5?
Yeah, number 5, I happened to accidentally see your list, and one of the bands on your list I love. I didn't actually include it in my top 5 because for my last one, I actually want to talk about 2 kind of up-and-coming artists.
Yeah, go
that
for it.
really excite me. So I don't want to take your pick because it's a great fucking pick. I love that band.
on.
So we'll talk about that later. But 2 artists I want to talk about. I don't know if you guys have heard of Nick West.
No.
She is a bass player who also sings, right?
Yeah.
And she
Some of us can do it.
she's
Okay.
a Prince acolyte.
Oh,
She
interesting.
she did some work with Prince in the studio. You know, fabulous bass player. But she's like, if Prince were reincarnated as a woman,
Right.
like she's got the whole like hot kind of androgynous, you know, wearing a harness, playing the shit out of the bass while singing at the same time.
Sounds awesome.
It's really fucking cool. Now,
Nick West?
Nick West,
Okay.
N-I-K West.
Okay.
Now I will say that she does, at least for now, she's done a lot of cover material. You know, she has stuff for rights, but this is kind of an up and coming artist.
Okay.
That's cool.
That I think
So,
we're going to see some cool things from her.
Nick West.
Nick West, and then the other one I want to mention, and this is going to be totally out of the blue because people are going to be like, why the fuck is he mentioning that person? But Elise Trow, Canadian artist.
Christian gives the thumbs up.
Dude,
She's American.
I thought she was Canadian.
No, she's from California.
She's from California?
Yes.
Okay, backtrack.
Okay.
So, the other artist I got to give a shout out is this-
California, the Canada of the West.
With that-
Yeah, anyway, so Elise Trow, wherever she may be from, is a drummer. She does electronic music. She plays bass. She plays guitar, she plays piano, not piano. She sings. And the really cool thing is that she's kind of taken this whole idea of like a loop station, you know, where people like play, you know, this part and they'll usually use a sequencer to set in the drums and like that. But like she's got videos where she goes up, plays an instrument, hits the sample button, and then moves on, right?
Right.
And she acts out all of the parts because she writes them all and she plays them all.
Huh.
That's cool.
And really cool thing, and I'll stop gushing about this, you know, young artist out of California, which I always said she was from, is that she'll also do these things, these mashups where she's like playing acoustic guitar, and there's not all of the electronic elements, and like you realize that like this is someone who could just play guitar and just sing, and like that would be enough for most artists, but this young woman doesn't do that. She does all of these other things.
That's really, I'm very interested.
The only kind of like, I guess not even a downside, but she's in a genre that I'm not really like super into, and that's kind of like electro pop kind of.
Yeah.
Which is like, you know, once the producers get a hold of everything, they kind of, you know, fit it into this box. So at least Trial, if you're watching this, I'd like to see you just stretch your wings creatively and just, you know, make the music that you want.
She's actually our number one.
That would be such a strange like connection. Anyway, but yeah,
We're huge in Canada.
yeah, California, the Canada of the United
Canada
States.
of the West.
That's so not even true. I'm from California, not a thing like Canada. Never been to Canada.
Nice.
Right on. Well, what's your list, Craig? What do you have here? I'm very interested.
So for non-metal, I just kind of focused on stuff I've been listening to recently the most.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily a collection of like all time, like what I think are greatest or even like necessarily most influential or anything like that. It's just kind of like, well, you know, stepping back, thinking it's like, these are the bands I've been listening to most within the last like couple of years on the non-metal side.
Okay.
And some of them go back further than that. So the number one pick is Pink Floyd. Like I listen to a lot of Pink Floyd, have to for years.
It's almost like in terms of like studio music and things like that. It's almost like, I hate to use the term perfect music, but it really is like it's produced, like it's written it's so specifically and so precisely.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That it's like it's hard to top Pink Floyd just as a band, period.
Exactly. Yeah. I feel the same way, and you know, they've just got some like haunting melodies that just stick with you for days. David Gilmour, like his solos are
tasty.
Just like again, like some of the most memorable solos I have ever heard.
Roger Waters is the most patient bass player on the. That dude will sit there and vamp for like 20 minutes, man. Like I've seen him do it.
But it works.
It works,
you know? And I love their early stuff and I love their later stuff. So although to be fair, the very last album they put out, I haven't heard. I'm a huge fan, but I just, you know, didn't get around to it. And a lot of times, like, I'm hesitant to listen to a band that was iconic, that has taken a long time, and then they come back. Because it's like
Guns N' Roses.
Yeah, maybe it's good, maybe it's not. But I'm like, maybe I'll just leave that one alone.
Maybe I don't want to disillusion myself just yet on this band that I love.
Exactly.
So let me ask you, favorite Pink Floyd guitar solo?
Oof.
Great Gig in the Sky.
There's a lot to pick from, and mine might be a little bit of a unusual choice, but if I had to pick, I'd say High Hopes.
That's a really fucking good one.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
I'd have to go with Time.
Yeah. And again, it's like you're not going to pick a wrong one.
It's just,
exactly.
That's the thing. I just was curious.
Yeah.
So what about you?
Well,
Great Gig in the Sky, or
Great Gig in the Sky that's my favorite Pink Floyd song.
Yeah. Okay.
So and I love the solo. I love everything about that song.
And another obvious pick, as far as my top list, is Led Zeppelin. I mean, there's not a whole lot that you can say about Led Zeppelin other than that they were a great band for a lot of different reasons, and all of their guys were tremendous at what they did. Ace disagrees, but you know what?
Yeah, he doesn't really care
Ace
for
is
that.
very, very critical of
Ace is like, but they solo out of riffs from blues musicians.
And they did. But it's even in regards to that is, they catch some flack, for being like, well, they just added distortion to like American blues, right?
Okay, yeah, but it worked.
It wasn't just that.
But even if it was, and I don't really buy that, but even if it was that, it's like, yeah, but you're missing the point, is that they did that in a way that no one else had, and it worked.
They were setting out to be the heaviest rock band of all time, and for a minute there, they fucking were. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, they achieved that.
Yeah. So they're the most prolific for a time, too.
Seriously. But I mean, like, Four Sticks, when they fucking, John Bonham does the fucking drums with the fucking 2 sticks in each hand. Like, it's so loud, man. They do a lot of, live recordings.
Yeah, that guy was an absolute beast.
And that's like a thing that's always worth mentioning, too, is that, Led Zeppelin wouldn't have been them without John Bonham.
Oh yeah, no,
or John Paul Jones. Their rhythm section.
But it's like I've always said it's like the drums are the engine of a band. Yeah. And it's like they were great and everybody in the band was great, but it was the fact that they had this madman that would hit like a maniac. That is what kind of like pitched them over.
Yeah, and it made them have to be the loudest rock band in the world. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And also a huge reason why no one's ever been able to follow in their footsteps.
Yeah.
Is it's like, I know that there's bands like Greta Van Fleet that can suck a big one.
Not a fan.
No, not at all. But either way, it's like they don't come close because they don't have that monster behind the kid.
You're right.
So, another one is, I know this is also a favorite of Joe's because we listen to it a lot together, but Alice in Chains.
Fucking A right.
See, and I would actually argue that Alice in Chains, while looped technically as a grunge band, were a metal band.
And that's fair. Yeah. I mean, that's fair.
You could say they were a heavy metal band if you wanted to, but you could also call them rock.
Yeah, and that's how I feel about him. It's like I feel like a lot of the grunge bands were rock, and that's not a diss. That's just how I feel about it. And it's like, of that era, for me, they were by far the best.
I agree.
It's like I still jam their stuff. I mean, I still a little bit am that guy because by far my 2 favorites are their two firsts. Dirt and Facelift.
And Facelift.
Although flipped, it's like Facelift first, then Dirt.
I remember one night I was playing dominoes with Sam, who has been on this show, and he put on
one of my guitar players.
One of his. Yeah.
And he put on a bunch of Alice in Chains, and I don't know why I said it. Maybe I was just being contrarian, or I just wasn't in the mood for grunge. But I was like, I don't know if I've ever really been an Alice in Chains fan. And then while we're sitting there, I sang every fucking word to every fucking song. And about halfway through, I was like, shit, I think I am an Alice in Chains fan.
And I know Joe is obviously a huge Alice in Chains fan as well.
Great vocal melodies, the harmonies.
Well, I was going to say the vocal harmonies. I mean,
nobody sounds like Lane Staley. No one.
Well, I mean, just the fact of Jerry Cantrell is a phenomenal vocalist as well as being a phenomenal guitar player.
Yeah, and
it's hard just to do one of those.
Well, Mike Inez is an insane fucking bass player. He really is. He's such a good damn bass player. Very underrated, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
So my next 2 picks are a little bit unusual, a little out of the box. But for me, I'm a big fan of Mazzy Star.
Great band.
I didn't know that.
I really like. I'm a big fan of like haunting melodies.
Psychedelic.
And I think that the work that they did in the '90s was just stellar.
Yeah.
I don't believe they're around anymore. They might be, or maybe they
got together
back together
for a South by Southwest,
something like that,
2015 or something.
But I don't think they're like actively like putting stuff out. At least nothing I've heard.
It wouldn't sound the same anyway. The '90s was such a big part of their vibe, and the sound. It just wouldn't sound right. I don't think.
Yeah, but yeah, it's like I think her name is Hope, but she's got a phenomenal voice.
Yeah.
And their guitar player, I don't know the guy's name, but he's actually a very good guitar player. It's like they're not playing like anything crazy or technical or anything, but it's just like really memorable like guitars and vocals, and I'm a big fan of that type of thing.
She has the kind of vocal fry that I like.
Yeah.
It's like there's tone to her voice. It's silky and smooth, and then at the end, there's the raspiness.
Agreed. And then my last pick is a newer band, and they're like a Swedish, or no, I'm sorry, I think they're German actually, rock, kind of hard rock band, and they're very influenced by like 70s rock.
Okay.
A mix, because they've got a female vocalist. So they've got a female vocalist and they're occult themed. So right there, I'm like hooked.
What band is this?
Lucifer.
I just fucking like discovered this band like 2 days ago. Yeah, like it's fucking awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
So again, the vocalist, she's phenomenal. The vibe of the band is kind of like a mix. I mean, it's a little hard to categorize, but it's kind of a mix between like Blue Oyster Cult and Fleetwood Mac.
Yeah.
Okay. And,
very much.
And
that's a pretty
the other part that I really dig is it's occult themed. And,
yeah, like all of the lyrics are just very either satanic,
witchy, or whatever.
Witchy or whatever. And I eat that shit up with a spoon anyway. But I just discovered Lucifer, and that is solid. That's a solid ass.
I find it hard to believe you just discovered Lucifer.
I have just discovered the band Lucifer.
Oh, okay.
Right. So my top 5, I kind of went a little balls out with because I couldn't.
Nice.
I couldn't. It was like I said. It's really hard.
Oh, it's so wide. I mean,
I was
it's
just like, man,
kind of an impossible thing because it's like basically like all genres that aren't metal. It's
yeah,
like,
and there's so many
just
different
pick 5.
things
Yeah,
that I
pick 5.
fucking love. But I kind of had to go with what Craig said. It's like these aren't necessarily like my top 5 of all time, but these are the ones that I've listened to all the fucking time.
Yeah.
The first one is a really obscure one. There is this Irish folk singer named Darby O'Gill who is funny as shit.
Yeah.
Like I just I can't even describe it. There's a squirrel in every one of his songs. Like this, the guy just doesn't give a fuck, and he's hilarious.
Right on.
But he's been around since I think the mid '80s. Like he used to play like he's been around for fucking ever. But his shit is so good, and I got to see him live, and it was one of the most entertaining, hilarious shows I've ever been to in my life.
Yeah.
It was so fucking good.
So, like, what's the music like?
It's Irish traditional. It's like, oh, the rattling bog down in the valley, oh. Like, it's straight,
it's
just
like pub
jigs
music?
and reels. Yeah, it's pub music. But, like, there's one song that everybody should check out. It's called The Kretschma, and it's about a Russian whorehouse. Mm-hmm. And it is one of the funniest songs I've ever heard in my entire fucking life.
Nice.
And he uses a lot of, like, crowd work and shit. Yeah, it's a lot of double entendre, but but like crowd work, like people, like when you go to a Darby O'Gill show, you're expected to like yell certain things during certain parts of songs. It's a really interactive show. So I would put Darby O'Gill on there, followed real closely by Tech Nine. I fucking love Tech Nine.
There you go.
Tech Nine, first off, from a lyrical standpoint, is possibly one of the top in the game. Mm-hmm. And I'm not I'm going to sit here and claim that I know a whole shitload about hip hop or anything like that. But I mean,
technically, you are a hip hop artist.
I was a hip hop artist a long fucking time ago.
See, Joe is.
You didn't know that? Oh, we'll show you Short Bus someday. It's horrible.
He actually had a reunion show at Andy's bar.
We did, and we even put on fake face tattoos and like looked like Post Malone and shit. It was ridiculous. And we used to whip out these giant fake cocks at the end of our show. It was fucking ridiculous.
That sounds awful.
It was terrible.
He performed at a gathering of the Juggalos.
I did perform at a gathering of Juggalos, which was also terrible. Man, y'all can fuck in a car.
It's a skill.
It's a skill. But no, Tech Nine, another thing that I really like about Tech Nine is he was one of the first, not maybe the first, but one of like the early pioneers to successfully put like really heavy operatic breakdowns of things in his beats. So his beats aren't just like your typical street like club beats. It's like it's fucking music.
Right.
And then on top of that, his lyrical ability is insane. And he sings. Most of his content is about mental illness and violent impulse, which is something that I happen to know a little bit about as well. So I find his music very relatable.
So is Violent Impulse your number 3 pick?
Right.
No, but it's my new band.
There you go. Yeah, I was gonna say that. Great band
Breaker.
Yep, we're doing that as well. So my number 3 actually is going to be Rick James.
Okay.
Rick James, as big a piece of shit as he may have been, is one of the most insane bass players I've ever seen.
He does that while singing.
My life. Yeah, and he does it while singing. But my dad took me to a Rick James show when I was a kid.
That's awesome.
And I was like, we're front row, and I'm watching this dude just tear this fucking bass apart.
He dances too, doesn't he?
Yeah, he dances, sings, and plays his ass off. Like, so yeah, that was one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Like, and you know, we were talking about played. Yeah. But you know how we talk about like incredible live shows really clenching it and things? Right. It was like a revival of the Super Freak tour, and he was like obviously paying off a large cocaine debt, so but it was still a badass performance.
We got the cocaine fronted.
Yeah, he would imagine. Yeah.
He's like, get you back on the back
I got
end
you
of
back.
the tour.
Yeah, man, I got this.
Just wait till the end of the tour, man.
I just have to be super freaky. Yeah.
Look, I gotta have my buzz.
I gotta have it. So that's gonna be my number 3. My number 4 is actually gonna be Elton John.
Wow.
Great pick.
I fucking love Elton John.
I love Elton John too.
I love like
can't hate on that.
Everything on his entire catalog. I think he's a quintessential stage performer.
Oh yeah.
He is like, this dude is like, in my opinion, top tier professional musician. You know what I mean? And like on top of that, like his songs are like fun and accessible, and they're also like really deep and good.
Some of them are, yeah.
And I mean, you know what I mean? So yeah, Elton John is definitely on my list. And then my number 1, he knows this about me. I don't know how many other people know this about me, but I have been listening to this band since I was about 4 years old, and it has always stuck with me. Jethro fucking Tull.
Okay.
I fucking love Jethro Tull. I think that as a band, they're incredible, but what I love most about Jethro Tull is their lead singer, the guy that plays the flute, Ian Anderson. Yeah. The way he writes lyrics. He kind of, in a way that I do, it's like everything's a story. There's a lot of alliteration and clever wordplay. Like, he's kind of a wordsmith, and I love that about that band. And I'm talking every band, or every album. I mean, they had like Minstrel in the Gallery and War Child and Broadsword and the Beast and songs. Like, I know all of these albums. Catfish Rising was not my favorite.
Favorite album?
Songs from the Wood, hands down. Hands down. It is literally, like the whole album just sounds like he is on acid and dancing around in the woods with some fairies.
Well, I gotta bring something up. This needs to be brought up. Right. Now, Jethro Tull is on your non-metal list, right?
Yes.
Are you aware?
Yes. I am aware that they beat Metallica for Best Metal Album. Yeah. Have you seen that video?
So that invalidates your pick. Because she's clearly...
Or... Here's a hot take.
It validates Metallica.
Yeah. It validates Metallica as a metal band. Yeah. So now that they've been validated here on Warlord Radio, they're a metal band.
You're officially a metal band. You're welcome, Metallica. Yeah. No, have you seen the video of winning that Grammy? Because like Metallica's basically like getting ready to get up and accept their award, and Jethro Tull's just like sitting there getting drunk, and then they say Jethro Tull wins for Aqualung, and you can see Ian Anderson say, "Are you fucking serious?" And then they just kind of go up there and they're like, "Thanks, bye." Like, what the fuck? Yeah. It was really weird, but
that was a weird moment.
It really was, but everything
not to tarnish the legacy or anything. I just felt like it needed to
tarnish the legacy of Jethro Tull or Metallica.
Legacy, yeah. Look, we've just said that Jethro Tull is a metal band.
Yes, and I have one honorable mention though, because they almost eked out Jethro Tull, but I still listen to a ton of Jethro Tull, and that would be the band Iron Butterfly.
Okay.
Iron Butterfly, they're best known for In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, In-A-Gadda-Da-Vida, but they have this other album called Ball. And it's just a yellow album, and it says Ball on it, and it's some of the most haunting, spooky, like pre-metal psychedelic rock I've ever fucking heard. Yeah. They have this song called Filled with Fear on there that's like, it's kind of like the way I felt when I fucking heard Black Sabbath for the first time. I was just like, ooh, shit, this is awesome. But yeah, that's my honorable mention, but number 1 is going to be Jethro Tull. I fucking love Jethro Tull.
That's a great and varied list.
It's strange, right? Yeah. I put Tech 9 and Jethro Tull on the same fucking list.
There you go. Well, thank you for checking it out, guys. Please post your favorite non-metal bands in the comments.
And fuck Rugby Curd.
And Sublime.
You're listening to Warlord Radio Podcast. Please hit like and subscribe at the bottom.